My French.
Welcome to the Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast, our Podapalooza special edition. Our next guest here in the Podatorium is Rich Kozak. And Rich is an expert on brands, among other things, as we were talking about before we started recording. And so before we started, we were talking about how the importance of brands, and not brands like logos and colors and that kind of thing, but the importance of how you communicate your message, your identity, who you are, and how that affects your impact. So that's what we're going to be talking about, I think. But Rich, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and then we're going to launch right into this conversation.
Thanks, Michael. So for the last 49 years, and there'll be a lot more years, I have been defining and languaging brands and launching them. Many of those years, decades, were running a large agency, being executive vice president and running new business, partners in 21 countries, a certified global branding consultant. But I decided when I turned 50 that because I was doing all-nighters, I was addicted to my job, and I changed my prayer. Lord, I'm resigning this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. And I went into show me mode. Individuals asked me for their help eventually. And what I realized was helping an individual in the same way we help big companies. It's the same process. But branding is a process. It's steps. But people don't know that. And they don't think that. But it's steps. And if you do the steps, it turns out better. If you skip steps, it doesn't turn out well. But people don't know that. So what I realized was helping people envision and write down the impacts they most wanted to make on the people they most wanted to impact. Helped align everything they say and do, their brand, their language, their messages. It aligns everything with the impacts. And so hence impact-driven branding, the book is coming out, Impact-Driven Branding, 7 Steps to Ensure Your Brand Impacts People's Lives in the World. It's handing millions of entrepreneurs worldwide the steps. It's a process. And so unfortunately, people misperceive, misunderstand, and they think a brand is something that somebody else has to slap on them and they have to become. Literally, branding done right comes from inside. And so it starts with what's in your heart and what the gifts you've been given. We're all here made by the same God. So we all have the opportunity to make the biggest impact we can with the gifts we've been given. And when we align with what's really in our hearts, it brings us a lot more joy. We'll live longer and live more healthy. And so I get to do that work with individuals who are ready and who hear me speak and go, wow, I want to know how to do that. So that's what's going on. And you can call it branding, or you can call it evolving how you create, how you create the perception of you, because it's the perception is your brand. Evolving how you create that perception so that you can do what you love for more years. You have longevity. And you step into divine purpose. So I don't know if the phrase evolving your personal brand with deep clarity, that's probably missing. Longevity, so you can do what you love for more decades, and divine purpose resonates with you. Keep listening. And there's a lot of moving parts, just like, I read all your emails that you cover a lot of bases. I've been covering industries for decades. It just is a process, and it's a blessing when people get to benefit from it. So there you go.
And I think what throws people off is when they hear branding, they think corporate branding.
Mm-hmm.
And so when progressive is branding, progressive is a bunch of people doing math trying to figure out how to make the most money.
Yeah.
So they need to create an identity around that that's not a bunch of people doing math trying to make the most money, but is actually, flow, helpfully helping people to save money and protect their families and blah, 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 blah. That's all veneer over a very corporate thing, as opposed to solopreneurs, coaches at their core. If someone could read through the branding of Geico, they wouldn't see the gecko. They'd see a bunch of actuaries and investors. If someone could read through the branding of, you or me or Kimberly Crow or something like that and read their mind, they'd presumably say, oh, this is a person who wants to make impact, help people, got into this because this is their calling, their purpose. And so it's very different from a corporate brand, which is masking what the corporation really is, and the personal brand or a personal business brand, which is revealing and clarifying, amplifying what it really is.
It gets to be, yeah. And you have nailed it. Bless your heart. Okay. And people they get intimidated by branding. They confuse. They think it's complex. They don't really know it, understand it. And they don't know who can really understand them or really, get them credit for what makes them outstanding. Well, that's just part of the process. When someone has 6 things that they do really well and they go, I'm not sure which is my brand, and you create using the process an umbrella brand that gets them credit for the highest level impacts they get to make. And all those 6 things now fit instead of confusing people. And you have them say it in a way that people go, oh, I love that. I want that. What's in there? And you create intangible brand promise and magnet. And all it is helping people attract those whose lives they really most want to impact. Praise God, we all get to do that. And so, there was this moment. I happened to be in the choir loft when it happened. It was like I was thinking about work. I was working on some individuals, and it dawned on me that what I was doing with individuals was literally helping them envision the impacts they're clearly making and literally speeding them to those impacts, speeding them to the money, speeding them to stepping into their divine purpose, or at least creating a platform that helps them get there faster, because our businesses are vehicles, but it's not necessarily why we're here. And that's when I realized if the desire for impacts is in their hearts, I didn't put it in there. Well, who put it in there? Well, if it's God, this isn't even my work.
Yep.
And that's what's going on. So there you go.
That's a powerful concept. So I don't imagine we have time to explain your whole process. But what are the key things that someone needs to know? Someone who's kind of struggling with branding, they don't have a clear unified brand, they're not getting the impact that they want. What are the key things that a solopreneur needs to know to implement what you teach?
Well, like you said, it's out of the scope. The how is out of the scope, but I think quickly we'll say you need 4 things or your brand falls flat. Okay. So let's go there, okay? Because nobody's going to tell you this. They're just going to sell you stuff that tell you it's good for your branding. You need 4 things. Now, how you get them, we need to talk, okay? But 4 things. Number 1, what your brand says and does has to be congruent with your heart. Number 2, consistency across the board. Why? Inconsistency breaks trust. You're screwed. Consistency across the board builds trust. How you say it, how you show up, how you say what you do. It's got, okay. Number 3, unique language that transfers energy. Unique language that transfers energy. Now that step is an outcome of a lot of discovery that comes from your heart, the impacts you clearly see making, those things you're really good at, the categories of expertise that we've aligned, first one that you get known for, second, how do we say it so it's unique language that transfers energy. You can have unique language. Oh, we call it the Paraterranium, Fosdulium. Well, but nobody knows who that is. It hasn't transferred energy. It put me to sleep.
Yeah.
But if you say the woman speaking at the Next Level Body Conference next year is an expert at body intelligent yoga, oh my God, I've been doing yoga for 10 years. Body intelligent yoga. I want that. Okay, it's like it's like you create unique language out of English. Okay, and the 4th thing. Interesting that you would pick the gecko example. Positive, ongoing recognizability. That means the way you show up, you look, how you dress, how you hold yourself, your posture, your speaking pattern, the way you pace, how you say things so people have a chance to let it land. All those things, testimonials, endorsements that others write. Would you think maybe here we teach pre-write testimonials and pre-write endorsements so people can step into them? Yeah. So those four things, if you don't have them all, the brand falls flat, and most brands fall flat. So, and how do you get them? They're just steps.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's an outcome of the steps.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing I find interesting is a lot of people, they don't understand what the word branding means. They say, "Oh, I've got a logo. I've got colors."
Yeah.
And
Do you want, can I do like 2 sentences? I need 2. Ready? Anyone who's listening to this, your brand is it's a perception,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not your perception. It's the perception in the mind that you shape in the mind of the target audience individual that you most want to impact and really, that you care about and really want to impact. So maybe there's 16 of those types, or maybe there's 3. It's the perception you shape in the mind of those individuals you are most interested in impacting and really want to impact. That's your brand. That's what you think about. Your job in branding is to shape that consistent perception.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, you lose. You don't work on shaping it, anything can happen. You hire third-party marketers and say, just get us some leads. You know what you're going to get? 6 bad consequences: confusion, misinformation. You won't get credit for what makes you really outstanding. You'll waste a lot of money on marketing, and you'll say, "Yeah, that marketing didn't work." It's not the marketing that didn't work. It's that you didn't have a clearly defined brand, because your marketing, at its best, is the execution of an excellent branding strategy. And that's what people don't understand. They don't understand a brand as a perception. They get to shape it. They think it's something somebody gets to slap on and they have to become it. It's screwed up. It's all backwards because the world makes it backwards, because then they can sell you stuff. Stop it. Just stop it.
And I think that's a key point. That's something I'm going to be, if you're on the list, you'll be reading more about this soon.
Yay!
And if you're listening to this interview, this was like a month ago, so you missed it. But anyway,
Use my name, by the way. It's Kozak. Yeah.
But that idea of there's so many things we hear in the world, so much advice and wisdom it's marketing. It's like the same way that we still believe that Napoleon was short and Abraham Lincoln was honest. Those are both marketing that stood the test of time. And the same thing, this idea of a brand is a logo, or you need a brand that doesn't offend anybody, or you need like all these different axioms which are just not true. Or you need to be on every platform all the time.
And maybe it's a truism, but there's a lot of opinion in the world, and people won't tell you it's their opinion. They'll couch it as if they know, but they don't know. But you think because of something, they're it's funny. We categorize characteristics, the descriptors of the brand, and I'll use the word trustable and trustworthy. Okay, this guy's been mayor of the town for 35 years. Trustworthy. Everybody knows him. He's mayor of the town. But people that really know him know that he's a crook. He's not trustable. That's a big difference. Okay, it's like, and you gotta look behind the curtain and realize that people are going to tell you stuff, and they will never say they don't know. It's just opinion. You've got to find sources. Let's just call it straight talk you can trust.
Yep.
And deep experience you can count on. And that's what we get to do here all day long. Deep experience, straight talk you can trust, and deep experience you can count on.
It's funny. One of the complaints about ChatGPT is ChatGPT will never say, "I don't know." It'll always give you an answer. Now it's better at giving you a better answer, or a obviously low information answer, as opposed to just making one up, but it still will never say, "I don't know," which is funny because where did it learn that? from humans.
Remember number three, unique language that transfers energy. When you spend the money and time investing in the process and your brand has unique language that transfers energy, whatever you do, you don't feed that into a generic chat GPT so that everybody else gets the language too. You got to put a wall around it, and have a private one. So don't make that mistake. That's really common. And it's one of those things that you just need to stop it right now. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But it's just interesting how often these experts out there, they'll never say they don't know. And of course, the ones who put the most into marketing, they have the ability to get more random people off the street. So do they deliver? It doesn't matter. We'll just get more leads and get them. Yeah. So, and that's the challenge. So many people are hearing these things, it's easy to make money, passive income.
One of my favorites is you can write a best-selling book in a weekend.
Yeah.
That's one of my, because we help people write books, but a book okay, there's two choices. I've got a book, snarky on purpose, or a book is a stake in the ground that moves your brand forward in the strategic direction you need to go to achieve what you envision achieving. A book is a stake in the ground. So it's not just one book. One book might establish your expertise. The next book is a bridge book. The third book is where you're really going. It's like a book's a stake in the ground. So can you, in an hour the other day, I literally helped a client who'd been all the way through Brand Accelerator Mastery and had done all the work, the language is all there, outline the titles and subtitles of chapters and sub-chunks in the chapters of his book. And we looked at it and went, that's a great book. How can you do that in an hour? Only because the work had been done and everything was congruent. Remember number one, congruent with your heart. Everything in that book outline, which hadn't been written, but it's being written now. We're in chapter 4. Okay. It is like, but it starts with objectives in priority order. And how do you pick objectives if you have no strategy?
Yeah.
It's tough. Anything will take you there.
I think that congruence is key because one of the things I've got the nine foundational questions of business, and the second one is what's your goal, and the third one is how do you measure that goal. And the number of times I'll talk to someone and their goal will sound like someone from a before testimonial of a marketing video. What's your goal? Well, my goal is to build a 7-figure business. Is it really? You want a team of 12 people. You want to work 50 hours a week. You want to be spending $800,000 a year to make $1 million a year. That's what a 7-figure business looks like. And they're like, wait, what? I just heard I was supposed to build a 7-figure business. And so when you start drilling down, you realize they don't have their own goal. They have someone else's goal, but they were told it should be their goal.
That inspires them to hire the person that told them that so they can get there. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah.
And of course, no one will ever tell you that a solo business on your own makes $150,000 to $200,000 when you get rolling, and a 7-figure business makes you in your pocket $150,000 to $200,000 after all your expenses, VAs, team members, software, marketing, except you work a lot harder for it. And you have a lot more risk because if something trips, suddenly you're losing $200,000, not making it. Now, if you're trying to scale to 8 figures because you want to reach 1 million people and that's truly important to you, okay. But a lot of people are like, no, I want to really help a couple hundred people and make a decent living. And that's most people I talk to. But they never stop to think about it and say what really is. And this is beyond values or anything else. They don't know what their goal is and what they're actually trying to do with their business. And so then from there, they then try to market. They try to talk to an audience, and the audience has no idea what they're talking about because people don't know what problem they solve. They don't know how they can help. They don't know what they stand for.
Let's take that audience thing, because that is one of those things that behind the curtain, I want you to see it. I want to pull the curtain and say, like, there it is right there. Take a look at it. Remember you saw this. And it goes like this. There are 2 types of clarity. Remember we started to talk about clarity. There are 2 types of clarity that are often missing that cause brands to fall flat. And I'm talking to you if you're listening to this. Your brand will fall flat if you don't have these 2 types of clarity. Number 1 is the internal clarity. Whom do I clearly see impacting And what do those impacts look like? When you have that clarity and it reflects in the way the brand shows up and speaks and what it says it does and how it does it, people feel that. It's palpable. They feel the clarity. Even if you've only written down 3 types of people, and you can help hundreds of types of people, but you write down 3 and you do the work, the clarity is tangible. It's a foundation baked into the brand. That's the number one. The other is external clarity. And I'll just paint a picture for you. You are speaking to one of your target audiences that you know, an individual or a group that you know you can impact and you really want to impact. And you describe what you know about them and how you've listened to them. And then you say, and so we understand where you are. And here's what I see for you. The words after that, you make you a magnet or you fall flat. The clarity is missing in those words a lot. The clarity in those words of this is what we see for you, the picture that you paint with those words to that target audience. You know what you're going to use their care about language, the thought that's in their head that they say to themselves all the time. And then they're going to go, oh my God, he really understands me. But if you haven't done that work, you won't do it. And so those 2 are missing. So know it and fix it.
Yeah.
And if you need help, just ask. But don't think that it's tricks and hacks and stuff and you know, it's just steps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful to understand, you know, speaking, entering the conversation already happening in your prospect mind and engaging in that conversation. And I really that, you know, what I see for you, that's powerful. Very powerful phrase, because that then takes them that next step.
That was, you know, if you spent 49 years defining and languaging brands and launching them, you'd be able to say that too.
Yeah.
It was like, find somebody who has deep experience and who doesn't want to blow smoke.
Yeah.
You know, which is, there's a lot of smoke out there, but
there is a lot of smoke out there. And I think that actually, that might be one thing that holds people back too, from really getting into branding and marketing, because they don't want to be like that. They've
Indeed.
seen, they've seen these big players. They've seen the, you know, the ones who are putting on the big shows, and then they talk to their clients. They're like, yeah, I spent $20,000 in that guy's program and I got nothing out of it but debt. I'll be paying this off for the next 10 years. And they're like, well, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And so what do you say to someone who's in that position where they're running from something, not to something? Like, I know I don't want to be, but I don't know what success looks like that isn't.
I'll tell you what to say to him. I know a guy. This is what you say. You say, I know a guy, and you just go to his website, richbrands.org, and it says, talk to Rich for 30 minutes. Do that.
There we go.
Okay? That's what you say. I know a guy, straight talk, deep experience. Just, yeah, that's it. Because how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got to be discerning, but yeah. So our job, like Kimberly was saying earlier about Brendan Burchard, you know, when you're, I mean, I met him in San Francisco in 2006, I think it was. His first book just came out. He's been delivering like that ever since the very beginning. When you're out there and out there and out there and out there, people realize you're not going away, and they get a chance to get familiar if they take their chance to get familiar, and they get closer, and then they get an opportunity, and then they link. And so sometimes it's just a good referral from somebody that says, look, I think this will do you a lot of good. I mean, I had somebody tell an attorney from Washington who moved out to California. The woman was born in Africa, and she had left a big law firm. She wanted to help law firms build the diversity of their partners so they could be more useful to an increasingly diverse clientele. And somebody ate dinner next to her one night that knew me and said, like, well, I think you should talk to Rich. Well, we met for breakfast. We worked for about all summer, 1 hour a week. And by the time she had an interview with the chairman of a big law firm that's in 11 countries, she said, look, here are the people that I clearly see impacting, and here are the impacts. And she shared with him what we'd done. And he goes, wow, you're the one we want. She goes, well, you're the one I want. She called me from the cab. I got the job. Well, yeah, okay. It was a simple referral. I wouldn't have known her. She and I don't look anything alike. It's not even like sister and brother from a different mother. It's like, whoa, different continent. It's like, man. But what do you say about that? I mean, it's like you get to help people you never imagined you help. I got to help her. What a blessing.
Yeah.
That we're in the same room creating the language of diversity, equity, and inclusion for the next generation of corporate leaders, and naming it and making the power of true diversity in God's eyes, not in society's eyes, because it has an agenda. It's like, wow. Okay. It was just a process. That sounds complicated. It wasn't complicated.
Yeah. And so people can reach you by going to richbrands.org.
Yep.
With a name like Rich, you're set up for that one.
It's who I am and what I do. And look, if you want substance, I do a couple of 60-minute master classes every month. Mm-hmm. And people can hop on to, it sounds a little brutal, but brandfirstorDie.com will get you a free sign up. brandfirstorDie.com. And I do a half day every month called Branding You with Impact. Get into that. It's very, very inexpensive, but it is deep in what you come out with, understanding what it means to define a language of brand. And I'm telling you, you already have one. You're already you. You might have been doing stuff for 20 years. If you don't evolve the perception of what you're capable of at the next level, you will bounce off. Brand first or die. You want to take it higher? You're not done. I'm after those people who are, they've got 20 years, they've got 15 years, they got 30, and they want to leave a legacy. And it's like, they don't know branding and they don't trust it. And it's just steps, but you must evolve the perception so that people let you in and say, they're the one, she's the one, he's the one.
It's just steps.
Evolve the perception. They might bounce off. Oh yeah, it's another, podcast host. It's another, it's another financial advisor.
Yeah. So okay. we have come to the end of our time, but the first step was listening to this podcast. Done. The second step is to go to either brandfirstorDie.com to get into some of Rich's masterclasses, or go to richbrands.org and get on a call with Rich himself. And that's your next step. And then from there, Rich will tell you what the steps after that are. So Rich, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you in person instead of just reading your stuff, because I do that all the time. Keep it up. You're doing great. And I loved some of the things you nailed in this session. Way to go.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.